think would be advantageous for funds that we understand that you have potential to invest. And at the end of the day, fund evaluation group would be the investment arm, if you will, the fund managing it on a day-to-day basis. And Fifth Third Securities would be the custodian and would be doing the service and all of the details, if you will, in terms of working with you. So that would be your direct contact and the direct association. But we would be right there, arm in arm with Leland and Fifth Third Securities. I have put in front of each of you this piece here, and I don't want to belabor time because you do have a long agenda. So please, I have no objections. You can say stop, Jerry, or if someone has a question, you just kind of coach me along through this. But I thought what I would do, first of all, is share with you a profile of the firm. Then I would share with you our investment philosophy and how we work, and then share with you a portfolio that we think, with the information we've received, would be very advantageous for your consideration to invest in. So if you turn to it's labeled page number 2, it says FEG profile at the top of it. And this is just to give you an idea of who we are. But today, our firm currently manages assets for above $81 billion on behalf of our clients. Now, when I say manage them, a lot of firms have their own mutual funds or investment options with their name on them. Our firm is totally objective. We do not have any mutual funds or anything that is in our name. We could invest in anything worldwide if we think it would be advantageous to your portfolio. Second, we are an investment advisory firm. We're not a broker dealer. Again, that simply means that all we're doing is giving advice and, again, managing assets on behalf of our clients. If you would turn to page 3, I thought I would share with you a representative client list of some of our national clients that we have. We work with some of the largest corporations and largest endowments and foundations and nonprofits in this country. This is our core competency, has been working with organizations like the ones on this list, and I'm sure that you recognize many of those organizations. I thought it might be interesting for you to see page number 3, which isn't numbered. I'm sorry, page number 4, which is a Michigan representative client list. And now it brings it a little bit closer to home. Organizations, again, that I'm sure that you have familiarity with. And should you have any doubts or questions, hopefully no doubts, but questions about who we are, certainly you could reach out to the board members on these other organizations to ask them their thoughts about us and what it is we do for them. Quite honestly, many of the firms that we work with have been referred to us by members of other boards. And that's how many of these entities come to our attention. Page 4, and this is maybe introducing something new to you, maybe not, but institutional portfolios. And so just so you know, when I'm talking about institutional portfolios, I'm talking about entities like yourself. Not individual investors, but entities like yourself. Now, we do work with individual investors. There's no question about that, but that's a different channel. This institutional channel is designed for organizations like yourself. And because of being institutional and very large in nature, we're able to bring to you, just better raw materials, if you will, more levers to pull within a portfolio to help the management and help you achieve, most importantly, the goals that you have for yourself. Most of the entities that we work with in this space have three goals, and people might think it's a very sophisticated goals that they have or a big, huge list, but they really come down to three things. They want to meet their spending goals, they want to pay their expenses, and they want to beat inflation. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So we're not, in the end of the day, really trying to shoot the lights out. We're trying to make sure they're on for you. We want to be directionally correct on your behalf, not specifically wrong. And I'm sure that's what you want to stay away from, because the assets you invest are assets that are very important, and I'm sure in perpetuity for you. Just a couple other comments on some of the things on this page. Our research on the right-hand side. We, first and foremost, I would say, are a research firm. That's our bread and butter. Without the research, we wouldn't be able to manage portfolios on their behalf. And I always have often said research is our main line, not our sideline. And that research is the engine that drives us. Diversified portfolios, you heard the word diversified. Well, we're diversified on steroids, if you will. The more diversification, the less bumps in the portfolio. Lower cost expenses, because everything is commingled with that $81 billion. So you get access to lower expenses, breakpoints, things of that nature. So you're accessing assets at lower expense than an individual, quite honestly, is able to get. And the long-term discipline, and I want to emphasize this. I know when I work with individual investors, their time horizon is about that long. What'd you do for me yesterday? What's my return? You know what? And entities like yourself have a long-term, you're in perpetuity, as I said earlier, and you have a longer-term horizon. And so I encourage you to use that long-term horizon, because returns are generated over time, not in the short term. And so what you want to be able to do is probability advantage the portfolios, and that happens by having a long-term perspective, not getting too antsy because the market's like we're going through right now. Because as far as I'm concerned, markets today that we are in is a time to invest, because you're buying low. And markets do always come back at some point. In fact, they're up always more than they are down. Myself, I just put $20,000 in one of my accounts. I don't know if it'll go a little lower or not, but I know I'm buying cheaper than I would have about 4 months ago. The next page over there, which is labeled as page 14, I won't belabor this one at all because I've already talked about the bottom, our research team. We have an investment policy committee. We are very in tune with what it is you want to accomplish. If you have an investment policy statement, we want to adhere to it. If you don't, we would help you along with Fifth Third Securities to put in place an investment policy statement, but by no means is it necessary at all to invest. And then we have, in your case, would be a 5-member portfolio management team that would be making the day-to-day decisions as it relates to your portfolio that we'd be managing on your behalf. On page 7, getting into the weeds maybe a little bit more, but you've got at the top asset allocation on one side. We're very globally diversified. There's stocks, there's fixed income bonds, there's credits, there's real assets like commodities or REITs, there's what you've heard the word, air quotes, alternatives. I always say those are anything that aren't a stock and a bond. You sometimes heard the word futures and things of that nature. Well, that's arbitrage. But those are something that you don't find in individual portfolios, but they dampen the risk in the portfolios. So we also are dynamic, meaning that we do make changes. We don't set it and leave it and forget about it. We will look, the portfolio is constantly looked at. We will make changes when we do. We notify. Yes.
Question. When you say they don't just sit, how often are they reviewed?
Changes?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a set schedule because we're not trying to do any timing at all. But on average, we've done 3 to 5 changes a year. This year, we have done 1 so far, and I believe another one will probably be coming shortly. It's when, and it may be a manager, maybe someone in the portfolio managing a portion of the portfolio, we just fell out of favor, maybe a manager. It may be an asset allocation change. Obviously, right now, we have an underweight to equities. But we have an overweight to diversified strategies, which is alternative, and somewhat of an overweight to real assets in the terms of REITs, which I'm sure you've heard of in portfolios.
So let me go back to that, back on page 14.
Yes, 14. Yeah, how about
I
you go from 14 to 7? That's pretty good. Sorry about that. I divided in half.
One of the questions I had about the investment policy committee. Who sits on that committee?
The committee on the investment policy committee is the head of research at the firm and all of the analysts on our research team. And then we have portfolio strategists and managers. So there are, let me think right now, we would have 7 people on it. So it's a very, very large. So you've got the analysts, the research team, the portfolio strategists, and the portfolio managers.
And who sits on the research team?
Well, the research team, again, those are the 80 people that we have that do nothing but research. And they're divided. The reason there's categories at the bottom in color, it says global equity, fixed and credit, real asset. Every research analyst is specific to one of those categories. So you don't have someone researching stocks full time and then also doing fixed income, because they're 2 different animals. So they're very specific. Thank you. So the outperformance potential in a portfolio, and I always use the word potential. Everybody wants top performers, but the real opportunity for returns is going to come from the allocation of the portfolio and from the managers that are selected. And that's why firms like Fifth Third Securities uses firms like ours, because this is our full-time job, is managing portfolios rather than also managing, other operations of the bank or other services that offer to the clients. This is our full-time business. So that's with the outperformance. So let's get quickly to a portfolio on page 14. I got 14 twice and everything else. I don't know who knows these things, but I'll take responsibility. It says portfolio, moderate growth portfolio. This is the portfolio, the name of the portfolio that, based on what we've learned, is we would recommend. You can see when you look at capital preservation on the left and moderate growth on the right, and then you see risk on the vertical, and you see returns on the horizontal, and you say, wow, they got us out on the end of the whip out there. Yeah, that's what it looks like. But because of the level of diversification and because of the fact that we are trying to meet specific goals, the moderate growth portfolio is most closely replicates what all of those entities, how they all those entities allocate that were on those lists that I gave. We call the moderate growth the endowment portfolio. Typically, it's what they call 70-30, when you think 70-30, 70x stocks, 80 bonds, that's, the old thing. But because of all the other things we have in there, it's much more diversified than that. My parents, they did just pass away, but my mom was 104, my dad was 101, and I had them in the moderate growth. So if I would do that to my 100-year-old parents, you can be assured that I am confident that that is a very solid portfolio. Now to the pie chart over here, that's just a breakdown of what the moderate growth looks like. Those are those 4 asset core categories. Equity, you see, global fixed income, which is bonds, real assets, diversified strategies, which is alternatives. That's how it's allocated today. Now, I will tell you that this is an allocation at the end of March of 2022. We update this every quarter. So there has been one change in the portfolio in terms of one of the managers, but still the allocation, that's where we're at. So notice, I said this is a 70-30 portfolio. Notice the equity is not 70, it's 65. We dialed it down. So it's nice to know that we can dial these asset categories up and down And we'll do that on your behalf, but the day after we make a change, we will notify Fifth Third Securities, and then they can notify you. So you won't be in the dark at all about any changes. And on the right are the holdings that we have. Yes.
Okay, in terms of your reporting, is this something that is public information, or is this something you have to share with the board at a separate meeting? Because I know it was directly coming from Fifth Third and said that they were not allowed to share that information publicly. It had to be something that you hear in a meeting. And I guess it would not be a board meeting or a closed session, but it would be less than formed population that would review this information and they would share with the board.
Reporting, first of all, normally comes out monthly. You've got a statement. Should there be a need for, hey, how am I doing in the middle of a month, middle of a quarter? That information, we have daily valuation. So we could easily have the security contact us and be able to get that answer for you. Where are we today? It's not hard. Also, because we do work hand in hand with strategic partners, we can come to a board meeting, whether it's every one, or I'm sure you don't want to hear from me every time. But we can come as often as you want, or if you use audio, I mean, on a phone call or whatever, we could get, instead of perhaps myself, get a portfolio manager on it. And we do that all the time. I mean, these entities, many of them want that. They want to talk to the who's making the decisions. I want them on the phone, and we'll do that. So finally, at the last 16, page 16 is just a. Oh, I apologize. Was there another? Please.
Position on third world countries.
Yes.
Your position and what type of legal documents are signed to make sure that third world countries are not involved.
Involved.
Third world countries.
Right.
Those companies that, yeah.
But the last part I missed is involved. I heard you. Did you?
Third world countries, all bankers, investors, whatever.
Yeah.
You do not deal. I sit on the largest boards in the state, CNS.
Yeah.
And third world countries have a position, paper to sign.
Yeah.
In other words, they discriminate, aggregate,
Oh.
and you don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Then where is your statement of policy? It has to be, otherwise we could not deal with it.
Yeah. And we can get you any statements you want, but we could, third world countries we call emerging markets.
Yeah.
Typically, right now, certainly, and we're ordered to anyway, out of Russia and other places where by mandate, we're not allowed to be in anymore. So those are, we also look very much socially responsible investing, environmental investing, things of that nature that many people are interested in today as well. So if you have some particular specific thing that you're thinking of or country, we can definitely get that for you and have one of the managers address that in detail.
Across the board, investors do not deal with third world countries.
No, individual investors do, because we work with individual investors. It is typically a small portion of the international portion of the portfolio. International is still emerging markets because they're outside of the United States. So you have international developed and you have emerging markets, which would be more of the third world, as you would say. But some of those third worlds are pretty darn good, like India,
If
Brazil.
they don't discriminate.
Yeah, right.
That's okay, I'll get with my chair.
Yeah, and I want to give you a deeper answer, but I'm just thinking of time, but so I know I'm kind
Well,
of.
I guess what you can provide for the board, and I appreciate what Ms. Maxey.
Yeah.
Is just a cover letter
Sure.
indicating as to the investments, whether it is an emerging market or not. Those countries that might be involved, and if there's any action or something by them where there might be some discrimination of some sort. So we'll be aware of that.
Yeah.
No, I hear you and loud and clear, and I'm just looking. Emerging markets right now makes up 5.2% of the overall portfolio, very small
Okay,
portfolio.
so whatever that is.
Yeah, then you want to know specifically what it
I
is.
think
Got
that's
it.
what he's at.
I got the question.
Okay,
I got the question,
okay,
and we'll go with that. Okay,
thank you.
and, okay, so then I just ended here. Here's just to give you an idea, you know, from 03 to 22, kind of, you know, how the portfolios moved. I didn't put major specific returns or anything there, but so I just open to questions and any additional questions. I'm glad you're asking along the way. It's good to do that. Thank you.
Any other questions? The chair recognizes, trustee Wilson.
So when we initially started talking about in that reinvesting this allocation of money, our accountant advised us to get into investments that where at least a portion of it would be relatively liquid. That if something went awry with our budget and our burn rate on spending, we would be able to access that cash if we needed it. So can you explain how that would work and if that's possible?
Two things. One, all of our portfolios always maintain 2% cash. Secondly, everything in the portfolio is 100% liquid. There's nothing that has what they call CDSC, which is a contingent deferred sales charge. Nothing. It's all 100% liquid.
I'll just want to share with you that we had an opportunity to sit down with our accountant, with him. Okay, so he asked those kind of crucial questions, and he'll be joining us in a minute. That's why I had him to initially come on right after shortly after our research person gives us an update, then Mr. Harvey will be able to share that with you, that we did have a meeting and those kind of questions were asked. So he's pretty confident in us moving forward. That's why initially we had him come tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You all set?
I think we're all set.
Okay, we'll get that question answered.
I appreciate that. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
And we will talk probably after the holiday.
Whatever you
Great.
want to, and
Okay.
two of us will be available.
Okay, appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, at this point in time, we're going to have our search update. Is that so?
Hi, I'm Jim Esmalt, and I hopefully will be assisting Pontiac Library in their search for a permanent library director. Referring back to our Zoom meeting 2 weeks ago, I had a request to obtain information from the library, and I was told at that time that within 5 business days, I would have what was requested. And it's been 2 weeks and I haven't gotten anything. The most that I've gotten was a general statement about what a new library director would be able to do as coming on board and creating programs and doing some of their own investment policies or growth within the library. But what I was looking for, one of the things that I was looking for was if the library already had a 3 to 5 year build out plan or things that they would like to see done with a time frame, which was part of my request, and I haven't gotten any information back on that. And I've also asked for a salary range based on a tiered structure of experience and whether they're coming from a tier 1 library or a tier 6 library, such as Pontiac Public Library. Tier 6 library tiers or classes are based on the population that they serve. And with the city of Pontiac currently averaging 55 to 60,000 person range is considered a Class 6 library. Southfield Public Library is about 3 times the size of Pontiac Public Library. It's also a Class 6 library because the population of the city of Southfield is quite a bit larger. So we need, in order to have intelligent conversations with candidates, we need to be able to present quantitative information for them as it relates to cost of healthcare, what type of 401, is it a 401k or a 401b through the library? 401k, 401k information, what type of, some of the intangibles, talking about the sick time, vacation time, whether it's loaded up front or accrued. None of that information was provided to me yet. In order to have an intelligent conversation with a potential candidate, we need to be able to address these concerns up front before even presenting them to the library board for review to see if, yes, you would want to interview this particular candidate or not. I've already had several candidates turn down even the opportunity for further discussion because they know from where they are currently sitting. One was out of state. She already knew that the cost of car insurance and healthcare would be a lot higher than where she's already at. And without being able to really discuss, it would almost been a dollar for dollar pay scale change for her. But moving into Michigan, we already know our car insurance rates are absolutely ridiculous, even after the change. They're still quite high compared to other states that don't have the permanent PIP insurance, personal injury protection addendum on car insurance. So anyway, what was
Let me just say this,
absolutely.
as I was reviewing the employee handbook,
Mhm.
it is perhaps I can share with you a section of it. I have a good copy of it coming, you can make some copies of it so you can have it. Back in it, as far as compensation and employee benefits and stuff, it's in here. And I'm gonna pull this out of my book and have a copy for it. And you finish if this is something that will be helpful you, hopefully it can. And I'm also going to say,
Does that have cost included? Because what I did receive was the benefit summary of benefit cost. So if you go to the doctor, what would be your cost incurred? But I didn't receive any information on what the family rate, what the individual rate is, family rate, child, individual plus child, what their monthly rate would cost
right,
for healthcare. I received a summary of benefit costs of what your co-pays would be.
right. And so what we have to do is initially look at, I think CAP is the healthcare provider, and we get a summary of what it looks for an individual or a family.
Absolutely.
So that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
So that's something you make copy of this section right here, which would give some assistance to you.
Okay.
But I will find out exactly who to contact or have admin contact someone, because that is a part of what's happening. And as an employee,
And is there already a 3 or 5 year budget worked out for the library?
we don't have, no, we do not have a five-year budget. We're getting ready to look at our annual budget. We can give you, go back several years and then a projected budget for the 22-23.
What the projected expenditures are
For
including
22-23.
what's on the wish list. You know what I mean, for the library, based on the budget. This is our wish list, what we would like to see done at the library.
But what I did suggest to the board is I gave them a copy of the strategic plan for A&R.
and wanted them to initially to look at that and see if that's something that we need
Use that as a template.
to look at as a template.
Right.
And see if those are the things that we want to adopt for our library for the next 3 years.
Absolutely.
Okay, because most strategic plans are anywhere from 1 to 3 years, they don't go to 5 years.
Yeah, well,
So-
I say 5 years, but yes, you know what I mean.
if
Yeah,
that's something we can pull from that in order to see, based on, work in conjunction with our accountants, to see as far as number wise, where we are with that. Hopefully that would be supported to this, in addition to getting the information from HAP, I believe that is the facility.
right.
Okay,
And so 401k information, vacation sick time.
and that's all in the section, the things I just had to
Okay.
pull so that you can have that,
Okay,
and
perfect,
that's in it.
perfect. So unless anyone have any immediate questions for me? Yes,
The
ma'am.
chair recognizes.
Where are you searching for these candidates?
Right now, my focus is regional. So my approach currently is reaching out to libraries within Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne County. And I'm actually going into their website, finding who's who in the library, and contacting like the assistant library, or the assistant director, or the director of the children's room, or, you know, depending upon the size of the library. If it's a very large library, let's just take Southfield, for instance, which, if you don't know, they're on a national search for a director themselves. So that's a competitor. But what I'm doing is going into libraries, technically going into libraries, and seeing who's who in the library, and finding the ones that's just below the director and reaching out to them. And I have been getting responses, although I stopped once I realized that I can't hold an intelligent conversation with people. So in the last 3 weeks, I haven't made any effort, although I'm still getting people reaching back out to me from my calls or emails that I did 3 weeks ago. The last person was interested, I just haven't returned the call because I haven't had opportunity to obtain enough information to tell them this is what the library is looking for. So I'm using the Tri-County area because first, those people don't have to relocate. They already have familiarity with Pontiac in the metropolitan area. So that's an easier conversation to have. And like I said, my approach is to go into libraries, look for those that will be ready for that next step. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so we'll be looking at, what we need from them. Have you taken their resumes? You said you need to give them information, but have you looked at any resumes from like the lady who's interested?
Not from the initial batch that was given to me from the board. I haven't obtained any fresh resumes yet.
And also, have you looked into the University of Michigan, like they have a very
Library, they have a library,
John Wilson,
no, they have a degree, library, what is it? I can't remember.
informational science,
That's what it's called. Yes, they have a degree, and I think one other college
Wayne State.
in Michigan has it, yes. So I have reached out to them and sent, which is another topic of conversation. I did send out to their lead person of those departments the job advertisement that was provided to me, which I asked for a revision on that, and I never got that back either. But I did reach out to Duke and Wayne State. For right when we got this started, that was like the first thing I did. Which libraries have the certifications or the degree in library science? And that was the first thing I did because I figured that would be the easiest contact to make, and requested that they submit that through their recent and alumni graduates, just fan it out into their cohorts, their job links and e-blast and all that. So I did, that was like the first thing I did. And once I get more information and hopefully a reply. The reason I asked for a revision on the advertisement, because the advertisement that they had was actually a job description, as opposed to a job advertisement that's, hey, this is what we are, this is what we're looking for, something vibrant, something that had a great picture of Pontiac Library, you know, something that would sell, and then to something that would grab attention, right? And then if you get that contact, then at the point of conversation, and then when you get ready to schedule a interview, then you send the job description. This, yes. Then this is when you send the job description before even reaching out to the board, right? So the job description comes right at the point of scheduling interview. Here's the job description. Please review it and let me know. You can even sign your job description that you sign off on that states that I read the job description and I'm able to do the duties as assigned. Every job description will always have all other duties as assigned, because that's that little hook where you say, okay, yeah, I'm not picking up that, I'm not picking that. At work, it's a running joke, you know. You got your job description, then you got all other duties as assigned. You're going to take out, you know, well, time to go take out the trash, time to go clean up on hour 9. I work in the autism clinic, so it can get real messy real quick. You know, it's like, Jim, we got to do this, got to do that. So there's that's the running joke at my job. So yeah, every job description has all of the duties as assigned. So don't tell me that it's not in your job description. So yes.
My question to you is that since we don't have that, is that something you're able to create for us? Since you know,
I don't have a publisher. And I'm not really good with publisher myself. If I try to create something, it wouldn't be pretty whatsoever. I sent you a couple examples of pretty good library job ads. Do I need to resend?
please be sending it, just send it to make sure everyone gets a copy of this.
Okay.
So as a part of the job description, what you're doing, you would provide the ads, correct? Or would you put that out there? The job descriptions, once we give you the information, you would put that out?
Yes. Yeah. So the only thing that the board would have to do after I present somebody and schedule an interview is interview. That would be the only responsibility of the board, is to interview and give me feedback and say, yes, we want to do a second interview. Yes, we want to invite you in for a tour. You know, however you want to proceed after that fact, because my due diligence is to search, recruit, search and recruit, make sure that they meet the qualifications in order to do the job, get past their questions as it relates to pay, benefits, and intangibles that all come along with that. Make sure that they're excited to interview, because then this happens to me all the time at work. If you're interviewing, they're interviewing 3-4 other places too, right? So then you get ready to make the offer, and then they call you the next day, well, I got another job, you know, or they almost complete the paperwork and then tell you, I just took another job for whatever reason. So it happens. But by the time a resume gets before the board, they should be ready to go. They're ready to get the interview and offer by that time. I'm not going to put somebody in front of the board just to fill up space, you know, just take the time. They've already gone through the ringer with me and said, okay, you can do the job. You review the job description, you know, signed off on it, not physically, but we signed off on the job description. We talked about all the benefit information. She knows what the potential salary would be, or he, and then that's it.
I was gonna say this, one of the things I found that people used to, when they talk about interviewing, that they said that they didn't know anything about the library, they never visited the library, they never went to the website or did anything like that. I don't know if you do that, that's just a red flag. It's kind of like a slap in the face, it's like they want the job, but they haven't even visited the library, not even the website or something like that. So those are kind of things that are key, in addition to making sure that we have the job description posted, given to you correctly so that you can share that with them.
Here's the difference between a job seeker and a person that gets recruited. A person that gets recruited hasn't been on your website until that conversation. But a job seeker is the one that's looking at the job ads, and they're gonna see the job ad, then they're gonna go to the website and maybe even do a drive-by and see what the distance is or see what the neighborhood looks like, things like that. So a job seeker is the one that has already done their research prior to the phone call that you're gonna give them. Oh, I saw your ad, you applied for our ad. But a recruiter, one that's getting recruited, has not done the homework yet, but they will before they get to the interview. Yes, ma'am.
So, Madam Chair was speaking of individuals that applied directly to the job opportunity when it was posted.
Mm-hmm.
So they were job seekers, and
They were job seekers.
and they had not done their research.
Shame on them.
So if we run into anybody like that, in my mind, that would immediately knock them out.
Yeah,
That's a red flag.
yeah. If they are a job seeker and didn't do any due diligence, yeah, it's like, okay, you're just seeing who takes a bite.
Yeah.
If you're not gonna do any due diligence ahead of time. Because they should have known, they should have gone to the website, read the about us, they contact us, they looked at your event calendar, they should have had all of that already done.
If there are no other questions and comments, we thank you, and I hope that helped you out. And if you send that information again, make sure everyone gets it, and get another job description out for you, so that you can have that for you. I do apologize.
And I will send those examples, I'll get back to the emails and resend those examples of, I said, this is a good ad to send out to schools, or if I make contact with somebody, find somebody's email, I can attach that ad to the email and it'll have contact information on it. And then if they respond, call me back or respond by email, then we can have that conversation about the benefits, and then I can send them the job description as well. Make sense on the process?
Yes, appreciate it.
Last thing is time frame. Let's give it, we're into July now, right? Tomorrow, yeah, July. So once I get everything that I feel would make it for me to be able to do the job, let's give it 90 days. I know. And then you can say, Jim, thanks but no thanks, but you failed us. But I will let you know with each step where I'm at. I will let you know, I will be able to give you weekly or bi-weekly reports. This is how many people that I made contact with. This is how many emails I sent out or how many phone calls I made, so you would know the activity. I'll treat you guys as like I treat my own job at work. This is what I'm doing. This is how I justify my payroll. That makes sense. All right.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll make sure I'm looking for that email, and hopefully that'll be of assistance to you. And we'll get the information from you.
And you guys should have my contact information
don't hesitate to shoot me an email or just call me directly. Hey, Jenna, you know what's going on. Haven't heard from you today.
And you can leave it, leave it case. Very nice.
I'll send you the link to my friend's website.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, and we'll try to get that additional information to you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, are you able to pull Mr. Harden up?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm sorry. How are you, Mr. Harden?
Great, and yourself.
Are you feeling better?
Getting there.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Before you get started, if you could just take a couple minutes and just share, and I think you talked about it before. Do you have any other comments about the investment group, or you're fine with their presentation?
Oh, I was good with their presentation this evening, as well as when we met them over lunch. And basically, as they indicated, they're an advisory firm that give advisory for portfolio composition. And the way that portfolio performs is going to be based on how those investments are allocated through those various allocation groups, where equities have the potential for more gain, but they're more volatile. And then your income investments are more stable, but lower rates of return traditionally. And the balance of both is what dictates your overall performance in your portfolio. And so they have people that's doing a full-time analysis on that, and that is what the library needs in terms of someone that's going to handle these investments, as opposed to creating a portfolio and then it sits there and earns whatever it earns until we make a decision to change it. At least we have active management of the portfolio, which is the biggest attribute that this arrangement has. And,
So is he gonna be on screen or?
well, I can put myself on the screen, but I'm kind of in bad shape here. I was in an auto accident, so I got wires coming out of me and bandages.
So is he gonna put the sheets and stuff up?
She's referring to the report.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could share my screen if someone is not sharing yours.
You need something to be done in order to share it so we can see it?
Yeah, they would have to allow me to share my screen or share your report that you have on your screen. Whoever is managing the Zoom.
Multiple. Yeah. I think you can share now.
Okay.
Here we go. Thank you.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
It's kind of small.
Yeah, and it is. I can't enlarge mine as much. This is about as large as I can make mine. However, your screen can probably project it larger, and that document exists on your screen as well.
This is the same thing we have already copied, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we can look at our binders.
So you want to look on your binder instead of the screen?
Correct.
Well, you should leave it up for anybody to
Reference, so she knows where to be.
Okay, I'll leave it up.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm starting with the profit and loss budget versus actual for July through May 2022. And our current July through May 2022 total revenues are $745,084.67 versus budget $1,033,208.72 for unfavorable variance of $288,124.05. And that unfavorable variance primarily due to no grant revenue as projected, penal fine revenue that we will be collecting but have not collected to date, and less than projected property tax revenue. We expect to have a significant reduction in this unfavorable variance by year end. We already received another $65,000 plus of property tax revenue, and the penal fines revenue will come in probably August or September, which still applies to this fiscal year. And so we will greatly reduce this revenue deficit by year end. Our total expenses are $871,827.18 versus a budget of $1,036,729.15 for a favorable variance of $164,901.97. So we are under budget in our expenses, and that's primarily due to under budget in operations, collections, as well as no capital improvements that was originally budgeted. Pretty much across the board, we had less expenditures than originally budgeted, which gave us excess of expenses over revenue to date of $126,742.51 versus projected excess of expenses over revenue of $3,520.43. And again, once we receive those revenues, our budget net income will probably go positive by the end of the year. Any questions regarding the profit and loss and budget versus actual? Not. Then next is the balance sheet as of May 31st, 2022. Our total checkings accounts have $636,006.05, with $865 in receivables for total accounts current assets of $636,871.05, with our fixed assets of $657,503.08 for total assets of $1,294,374.13. This negative accounts payable of $223.09, those are credits that we have, meaning that the vendors actually owe us, and we'll apply those credits to future purchases. And our total equity balance is $1,294,598.03 for total liabilities and equity of $1,294,374.13. And of course, the investments that we would make would come out of our cash position, our excess cash that we have on hand. As you can see, we have in our general checking over $588,447. And we don't need that on a monthly basis to operate the library. And so the board will have to make
I'm sorry, Mr. What was that amount again? 500 and what?
$88,447.65 as of the end of May. The majority of our cash comes in the first 2 to 3 months of the fiscal year. So between July, August, and September. And that's where we are close to $1 million in cash. And so throughout, we have the ability to make an investment, and that's what the board needs to make a decision on how much of our excess cash do we want to invest, knowing that there's always market risk, but a potential for market return as well. Any questions about the balance sheet? Okay, next. Pardon?
I'll definitely if there's anyone else that's it. All right.
Okay. Then this is the Treasury report that's prepared, and this is just a graphical presentation of our income and expenses by month. This is our income summary. And as I was telling you before, you can see the green bars of where our income comes in for the most part early in the fiscal year and then dwindles off later. And the primary sources of our income is, of course, property taxes. And likewise, with the expense, you could see that our expenses are largely in our operations, which is the green bars of 77.90%. Professional services is 11.49%. Debt service is 5.3%. And of course, debt service is going down in this next fiscal year, as explained in the budget presentation, because one of the debts have been paid off. Collection is 4.94%, and other operating expenses 0.65%, which makes up our total expenses to date of $871,827.18. Any questions regarding these graphs? Okay. Now, next is the operating budget that's being proposed. And this is the long view. I think Edmund passed out the condensed budget.
Right.
And that's the one that we would utilize for the state of Michigan. And of course, the reason being that they monitor us based on the budget that we approve and send into the state. And of course, the more line items that you have, the more variances that you will be subject to explain. And that's why we have that condensed version, which is acceptable to the state and also is recommended. And so that's not in the packet, which this is the presentation of. I can see if I can pull it up on my computer, but it's going to be the same thing that is in the long budget. It's just not the
I think we're fine.
okay.
Well, yeah, the extended version when we had our special
public hearing.
Okay. So, yeah, and yeah, we've seen it. And so I'll just go over the major categories that are presented here. With property taxes being 861, what was it? 861,407. We have grants at 59,923.83. Penal fines of $109,042. We have other library fines of $16.49 and charges for services of $97.55 for a total other of $47,866. Total income of $1,078,230.83. In terms of our expenses, debt service, $17,028. Professional service, $111,020. Operations, $855,218.55. Collection books, $75,000. Nothing for capital improvements. Admin allocation, $20,000 for our total expenses of $1,078,238.83. And the rationale, of course, for all the budget line items we're going over previously, and this is the recommended budget for our upcoming fiscal year. Any questions? With that, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Okay. We have a motion to accept the report from our attorney. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
The motion is second. Discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Weatherspoon,
Yes.
trustee Maxey,
Yes.
chairperson Richardson,
Yes.
secretary Adams.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have an action item, and we need a motion to approve the projected budget for 2022, 2023, starting July 1, which is tomorrow, and ending June 30th of 2023. Need a motion?
So move, Maxim.
Okay. The motion and second, discussion? Roll call?
Chairperson Richardson,
Yes.
trustee Maxey,
Yes.
trustee Weatherspoon,
Yes.
secretary Adams. Motion is approved.
So, okay, so we now have our budget for 2022, 2023 approved. We're also going to be receiving our state funding, because Colleen Rivera is with us. We're glad about that. We appreciate you. So, I don't know if you're going to read the statement from the state of Michigan that indicates that she's been recommended for level 1 as co-interim director, and also that we will be receiving our money for the 2022-2023 year from Joseph Hammond. Okay. So, chair report. Okay. One thing I want to say is that we, as I pulled up on the phone, is that we did get a grant from the city of Pontiac for $1,450 for our summer reading program. So that was a grant that was well received. We're applying for an additional $5,000 from them. We're applying for the Trustees grant from them, from Fifth Third Bank. We're applying for a grant for the Community Investment Act. We're applying for several board grants from other organizations while I was at a conference in Washington, D.C. there's a box upstairs, but I'm a little tired, I had to ship it back, I have stuff for everybody, okay, but let's just look at that. I'm a little bit tired, trust me. It was a great conference, had an opportunity to see a lot of, people and to talk with a lot of people, regarding things that we can move forward for with the library. Excited about that. Went to a session with Tiffany Haddish, and she has an organization, She Ready Foundation. I signed up for that and asked her if the organization will come to us and help us work with foster care. And that was one of the things that at a couple of our events, we've had somebody from the Judson Center that have doing foster children in Oakland County that have been there trying to get parents or individuals to come and be foster parents. So when Tiffany had it, I did receive a response back from them already, which I was excited. So we're looking forward to hopefully she can come because she was very inspirational in that, and hopefully we can get some board members or collectively we can need to be a part of that so that we can have more people involved with the foster care system, which, you know, she grew up in. So that was important. We kind of talked to her as I tried to put forth in you. So a lot of things in terms of other things to do. I want everybody to keep in mind that I did request that we initially pass on, perhaps tell me that's something you can look at is see what kind of training it takes in order for us to get revenue for the library, because certain libraries across the country are getting lots of revenue for actually doing passports. And that's something the libraries are doing, and that's another avenue of revenue that we can have for the library as we continue to look at projects and programs that we can do. I think there was a question regarding the addendum to the to work for the pavilion. I believe I clarified that, and Mr. Hayes said an additional clarification on that. But the addendum was just clarified that we went from 3 payments to 5 equal payments. Okay, that was one part of the addendum. The other part of that was initially to make sure that when it's completed, that before the final payments are done, that we have our certification for occupancy and anything else that from the city and from the county. So those are the agreements that were signed in respect to the building. So that's pretty much a whole thing to be able to pull up on the report. Let me look one more time. I don't remember where I sent it, but I sent it to an email or I sent it to my apologies for that. But those were the key things. I said I have a box that was shipped back from the conference for everyone, and I'll have a specific report at the next board meeting. But I did want to share those things. Like I said, initially there was supplies were shipped back so that you could initially have them and be able to use it. There are some books that we received that I want to make sure that they actually put in, what do you call it, coloring, have an ebook that you put in on the shelf.
In the collection or
In the collection.
you want to make sure they go in the collection via
Yes. So they're new books from Newberry and from the credit card scheme King collection, and I want to make sure that those books are added to our collection for people to check out and just make a note, so people will know that those books are available for them. Really nice collection, so I have those and other things I have present for you. Okay, again, I don't see where I remember that, where I posted it at. Okay, but they can't, but any other questions regarding what I shared with you? And for those who have questions, I'm asking for approval for my report.
I move to approve their report.
Okay, is there a second?
I support.
Okay, it's been moved and it's for any discussion.
Roll call?
Trustee,
Yes.
Treasurer Hatchett,
Yeah.
Trustee Maxey,
Yes.
Trustee Willis. Yes. Trustee Allen, yes. It's been moved and seconded.
Okay, I'm not sure where Edmund is. He's supposed to give his report. Do you know where he is?
Director's report.
He was running the desk because there wasn't anybody else. It was short up there.
Okay,
Do you want to go there?
well, is the director's report in there?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's here.
The individual report. But I don't see the director's report. So,
So we come upstairs and ask him to come down.
I don't know.
Just go switch places with him until he's done.
Okay, great, and then you come down and make your report. Okay, thank you, dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Carl, she got to go up there. She said he was at the front
She
desk.
said so she could relieve him since we haven't accepted that, yes.
What are those other people up there doing? They couldn't get for a few minutes. There's other people up there working on it. Josh is up there, well, Josh is on this, but there's other people up there. Where's the two ladies who usually work up there? Okay, thank you. How much? This is,
It's not gonna work.
oh,
No, that's
not
not-
done.
He was close.
Oh, really?
That's separate. They're down separate. they're separate.
Right.
Okay, so I separated one side.
Where did it come from?
Thai fortune. Thai fortune, it's on Wharton, like.
Oh, you coming down to get a report?
There's some stuff that comes out, I don't know if you wanted it, like, so it's not.
Okay. All right, okay, well then come back down and give us, thank you.
He's not giving any us. He's not giving on.
No, he doesn't have a report, so.
Why?
So we'll wait for Colleen, our clinical director, to come down and have her comments. Make sure you put that over Colleen
They're
way.
separated.
Okay.
You got a slip over there while we're waiting. Doctor, and I'm going to give them, leave some money for, water and all that, so, you know, everything, so. I'm waiting for it, yeah. I have to wait to do it.
Okay. You like spice or no spice?
I'm not gonna have this come up as a issue or whatever. I offered to him before that I would pay
just have this stuff here, I would pay him for it.
Rosie, you want spice or no spice?
Combination.
Okay.
Just think there's two birds in the tree.
We had yes, took water and some other stuff, so I don't know why. What I want you to do, Colleen, is to give this to Edwin and tell him that that's for the water and chips and stuff.
Okay.
No mess about it. 4 years I sat on this board.
Make sure you get to the seat.
4 years I sat on this board and, we had, food every meeting. Every meeting.
Yes.
So I did look through the other librarians' reports, and with the adult librarian, he listed the programs that he's had,
Yes.
and the attendance has been really low. So I think we gotta do more to market all the programs. Like no attendance of one person. So, so we gotta do some work there to.
We're gonna have to make sure she gets in the seat.
Okay.
Okay. Well, noted. Anything else? And I think that's something we probably need to share with Marlene. Just the communication and so forth, what we can do to initially have a conversation. Colleen?
Colleen.
Do you have any idea, anyone have any ideas how we can move forward in respect to getting, additional people to participate?
More promotion online this week. I whenever they post an event or anything, I share it. But you gotta continually, get it in front of people. I just got the summer newsletter at home, which is wonderful. But if we could start emailing the patrons, if we have their email address, start pushing out alerts for when events are coming up. Most people prefer text, react more to text messages than they do emails. But that may be something we want to look into. We want to, I don't know if there's a service for that for libraries.
Yes.
That tends to be very effective, especially with parents in terms of getting them to come up with things.
We can also do, the local access on TV, because it reaches over 28,000 people. And have Pontiac or service like that, so we can have to initially post it that way.
And we gotta have, like with the adult, we gotta have programs that will interest them,
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. Or take the, if they, we could partner with other organizations to take the programs out into the community to spark interest, so they can come back if they like it. So it would be less work for the librarians to do because the other organizations can host it. But that's something to look into. And I know they go to a lot of events, but those are more focused on children than adults. So.
But I think also with the meetup, if we take our flyers around to different sites, so people will know what we have, but if we do it on local, like the
also put it on a marquee.
Well, I meet up and read up. I did talk about the last 2 weeks, I heard.
You know what I'm saying, so that we can have the flyers.
Yeah, because maybe right, but who's gonna put them out to the distance?
That's why we have, that's why we
Yeah,
have.
number one, but I've been going to, on Tuesday night, to a meeting at the council, talking about it, but unless we have someone to physically get out, that's what you're talking about, you have to pay someone to go out and
No,
pass
that-
them out, or what?
No, that's why we have, what's that, senior hall? Help me out, Colleen.
What is it?
When the libraries go out to the different.
Outreach?
Outreach. Yeah,
Outreach going to the senior citizens.
outreach librarians do that, so.
Mhm.
so
Outreach,
Yes,
that's what citizens, 3 of them.
yeah, outreach librarian, so that would be the person. And then in addition to that, Colleen, I'm not Colleen, but I'm giving you name a lot. Marlene is the person that handles all the communication and things like that, so we can have her create, it's like the flyers we have for the summer reading kickoff. We can have her create one, just like we're supposed to get a monthly, event letter of what's going on every month. That could also go out and be posted on our marquee and then on the website, and we can do that. I know it's a matter of clicking on, saying to people, just click on this and you find out what the events are. Oftentimes, you have to do a little bit more to get people involved. So with that, I would like for Colleen to initially, give your comments and the co-interim director.
I have, well, can I just say about the last subject that we were talking about, I just had a question. How much social media presence is there? Like, I know we're on Facebook, but are we on Instagram, on every platform? And how is the,
We'll have that conversation with Marlene.
okay,
Should be very receptive into supporting you.
Okay.
And getting it done. So just reach out to her,
okay,
okay?
all right. Well, so I've been in, good evening, everybody.
Let's introduce yourself to people that are on Facebook or something, so they'll know who you are. Oh, yes, please. No.
There we go. I'm Colleen Vieira. I talked to you last time on Zoom. And I'm here. I was in working week. And I've basically just been learning this week, all the processes and procedures. I did take the new director's pathway course. That was online to get my level 1 certification. So all my paperwork was in, and I took the course, and so I was approved to get my level 1 certification, and the new co-interim director. Good week, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, that's all I have this week. Like I said, I've just been learning everything and learning what's going on, and I'm just gonna continue that in my work here, and whatever I can do and whatever roles you see me in, I'm totally open to that. Appreciate all of your support.
Well, and thank you, we appreciate you, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And thank you for getting everything done in a timely manner, before the 30.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Took a minute of running around.
All right, at this point in time, we're ready for board comments. Let's start with Ms. Witherspoon. Yeah. Ms. Witherspoon. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm saying, I said, yeah.
So I've been using the Pontiac Public Library app. And I found it to be very helpful, especially if I can't find my library card or I don't have it easily at my fingertips. So we've used that. The calendar is also in there. So they printed this for us, but it's also in the library app. So I'd like to see that publicized more so other people will download it. I'm sure at some point we spend some money to make that happen. So I'd like to see that shared more broadly.
Don't just ask, and I don't like to put a lot on Marlon, but he has those kind of skills, we can ask her if that's what you can help us with. So if you just shoot me, you know, have that conversation. That's what we do, that. Colin, you can have that conversation. Okay,
That's all I have.
great. Okay, the chair recognizes.
Yeah,
Trustee Johnson.
community. This continues to be a big problem as said. So on Mondays, our dissemination of information to our community had to be increased. And probably our landlord, tenant, and communication on the legal aspect of it. Cities have been overburdened, overrun, disrespected, stepped on, whatever, because they don't read. They don't ask questions as far as what can I do if I'm evicted. But since this library, all libraries are core in the community, they disseminate all information as such, regardless of the subject. So on Mondays from 3 to 5, again, Monday, I found a need so our seniors could understand and get information on landlord tenant books. So they could read through and find out what's really happening to them. So for the next, I said 30 hours, 34 hours, I'll be there on Monday between the hours of 3 and 5. They don't come within an hour or so I leave, but I find it very necessary. The second is the health. I looked over the books. Still need to come up with a good order of books for autism, for health and emphasis. When I looked in our library booklet, I didn't see it. And that is very important. Very, very important. So we need to look at that. So that's two things I'm basically concerned. You call this a working board. Yes, a working board because I work. I disseminate information on Tuesday night about the libraries. I think it's important that we keep that in front of our 5,000 listening audience. So to keep that in front, I'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to be at the library with information and those very, very pertinent things that are important to our community. That's my comments on what the library is doing as far as some of the trustees are doing. Everybody's so different. I happen to have a lot of free time because I'm retired. That's why I sit here and make $50 an hour on my retirement. I can afford to do that.
Let's be clear, you're not making it at the library. We don't get it done.
I love it. That's what I like to do is keep the library in some 5,000 every Tuesday night. Yeah, I love that. That's it.
All right, thank you. The chair recognizes,
I don't really have anything, but I want to clarify something that Mr. Maxson said, and we need to get it out there, and that is, I don't know how do people know that he is here at the library on Monday, every Monday, from 3 to 5. So I don't know if a flyer, I don't know how, but somehow we need to let, let the people know that he is here to help seniors with landlord tenant matters.
We have to get that out like the Board Center or like during our meetings on Tuesday.
Well, it needs,
We need to let them know.
we need a flyer, but things are happening at such an expense. So I just don't off the top of the fire.
So I'm
And
just saying
Tuesday
that,
night, we got 5,000 or more people watching. So
no,
I
I'm
don't
saying,
know.
as a co-director here, that's something she's making a note of, you can have a conversation. Perhaps that's a flyer that you can have.
yeah, well, I will,
Okay, so have a conversation.
I also for the card, I went out before I got the card, but it's necessary that that had to be said, and at the proper time. I'll talk with her about getting the flyers out, so I can.
Or some kind of notice.
And where would you like to?
Well, it is, 5,000 people don't see it.
No, what I'm saying, where would you like them to meet at? And you can also, once you talk to Marlene, they can put it on the marquee. Okay.
Good. I feel my, yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have.
That's it? Okay, the chair recognizes Secretary. Al.
Along with Mr. Maxine about the health of the community. I'm actually working on a program right now. It will be at the very start of this tentatively August 6th, but I would love to move it to the library to create awareness. It's community oriented. There'll be about different trainers, hands-on chef experiences to learn how to cook healthy. Zumba classes throughout the day, step classes, and then just have fitness experts come in and talk about the importance of
Yeah.
You're gonna be where?
Tentatively at the library, we could move it down to the library to make it.
Okay, and that's something, I don't have a problem with that, and all we have to do is, why don't you get with Colleen?
Okay.
And then she can work with, between her and Marlene.
Okay.
You guys can work that out. And that way we can work on having a flyer together, we can put on local access. Which people will see, where they can look at, where they look at city council meeting, they can also look at their flyer. Because that's what I did with the summer reading program.
Yeah, it's about our health and children's health, they can't focus.
Absolutely.
So everything is what body is, directly correlated with how they.
And remembering whatever the time frame is, if it's hopefully, we put in for a grant for the vision testing machine.
Okay.
And if we see that grant time up in between time, that's something else we could offer, because I know there's a lot of people, as far as their children going back to school, will have to go into all these long distance placements to get eye testing, so that's something else I would like to be able to do. So I'll just turn to those things and give them the time. Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Anything else? Well, I made my comments. I just want to say I hope everyone has a safe 4th of July holiday weekend. Okay, whether you celebrate it or not, it's a day you don't have to work. Okay, unless it's we've got to get everybody's food out to them. I appreciate every last one of you. I'm so excited that we were able to come together and have our public hearing and get our budget for 22-23 passed. And also make sure that we receive our funding from the state. Colleen, again, we appreciate you, but I want to say that I appreciate Will Anderson, who was the initial librarian that I called, who connected me with Colleen. And I don't know if she heard in my voice and not voice, I didn't really need to, but she's done everything. She's done it even when I thought she needed to do it, she had already done it. So like I said, I had the letter from Joseph Hamlin from the State Department. He said that she's all set, we're gonna get our funding, so we are just excited about that. We have a few housekeeping things that we need to address. I don't think we need to address them right now, but we do need to address some things. Okay, so with that, I want to say thank you to everyone, and make sure you stay safe, enjoy your time each and every day, know that you're blessed, and I appreciate every last one of you. We all have our opinions, but at the end of the day, I think we come together and we're making the library a better place. Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. Now, I need a motion to adjourn. A motion to adjourn this meeting for today. Okay, all right, and so do we have a second? Second. Okay, made a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Maxine.
Yeah.
Trustee Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Treasurer Hatchett.
Yes.
Treasurer, chairperson.
Yes.
Secretary Ashton. Yes.
Okay. Everybody enjoy. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great weekend.
You too.